Everybody, there's a lot of things going on in the news right now and around shipping, and some of your customers might be asking, or they may come up in other conversations. So just wanted to give everyone a quick update and primer as to what's going on. So bear with me here. Just going to move some tabs around. There we go. Okay. So you've got traffic that moves in lots of directions, right? So first set of issues result is US East Coast. So traditionally, if I have product coming out of Asia, I'm going to go through the Pacific Ocean, I'm going to go through the Panama Canal and then up to the East Coast. Right now, there are drought conditions that are going to go on for a long time that are restricting the number of shipments that can go through the canal. So you can still get things through, but the canal relies on natural rainfall to replenish the water levels in the canal, and through lakes and what have you that feed down into the canal. And though that water level is low, when it's low, they can move less ships through. So there's a backlog and delays and all sorts of issues down there. So that means your alternatives are you offload product on the West Coast and use what's called mini land bridge, which is the carrier moves the product across and you grab it on the East Coast as if it had gone through the canal, but it's actually moving either rail or truck across the country. Alternatively, you can bring the product to Mexico and bring it up through Texas and do a similar thing, except for issue number two is the border crossings in Texas right now have been shutting down because of issues with the border crossings being overwhelmed with migrant activity has caused closures, blockages. They said something like 10,000 trucks a day normally move through, and they have been excuse me, periodically closing some of those. So that takes another option away. You also had a lot of people who started using the East Coast. It's been gaining volume over the West Coast over the last few years because of the labor conditions and congestion on the West Coast. So now you're going to have more people bringing stuff through the West Coast because they can't go through the canal. The alternative routing is you can go west. So especially if you're coming out of India, because the distance is significantly shorter, um, instead of coming down around Singapore and all the way through, especially if you're in India, you can go this way. So if you're going to go west, you're going to have to go through the Red Sea, the Suez Canal, the Mediterranean, and then onto the US East Coast. The issue there a few years ago was the blockage in the Suez Canal with the Ever Given. The issue today is not the Suez Canal. It is the activity and the attacks that are coming out of Yemen at the entrance to the Red Sea, which are making it unpassable at this choke point down here at the bottom of the Arabian Peninsula. And that is causing ships to reach this point, turn around, or now they're being directly routed down and around the Horn of Africa, and then up either to Europe or to the East Coast. That is a much longer routing by mileage. So they are doing it. The ships are going to have, I think it's something like 2-week delays, maybe a little bit less. But it's a pretty significant thing. And because it is a fluid situation, supply chain planners are not able to plan because they don't know day by day when they're going to try to move ships through. There's a multinational operation right now to try to move the rebels away and try to make that lane safe. Maersk recently tried to get a ship through and it was attacked, and both by remote drones, and then also they tried to board the ship, and rebels were killed, and it's like a very serious security situation. So what that means is sort of unknown when you're booking freight, whether you're going to get the shorter routing or the longer routing, especially if you're booking freight weeks and weeks out. That alternate routing. So this is going to affect anything coming from India or Asia to Europe or to the US East Coast. And then also now you're trying to move more things that way because of the Panama issue. So the combination means global trade lanes except for the Asia US West Coast lane. Basically anything else, and the Europe North America, but that's obviously much lower traffic. Anything else is kind of screwed up because you've got two major global choke points that are both a problem. Obviously, very different problems. Uh, the issue in the Panama Canal is environmental and systemic, and it's going to take a long time. The issue in the Middle East is more fluid, more acute, would be resolved quickly, probably won't be, based on anything else that's ever happened in the Middle East. But it's really about this choke point at the base of the base of the Arabian Peninsula. So those are the things that are going on. What they mean for our customers is rates are going way up because the carriers are increasing their rates based on the uncertainty, based on war surcharges, based on, sort of all of these problems turning into, capacity issues. There's a lot of argument going on online about whether this is actual market forces or the carriers just trying to claw back some of the losses and rates that they've had over the few years. I don't personally have an opinion one way or the other, but what we know is freight's getting a lot more expensive and unpredictable as far as schedule and timing. So if you're a supply chain person, not a freight person, your planning has gone all to hell, right? So the dates, so if you're a freight person, the rates are going up and that's a problem. If you're a supply chain person, your planning is going to hell because your schedule reliability is crap. And it was already in the mid 60%. And now, the difference in not knowing which way your ship's going to go can be huge, or not knowing how long you're going to have to wait at the canal, on the American side is also huge. So that's kind of what's going on. Very fluid, lots of information out there, lots of misinformation out there, but that's sort of a quick summary for everybody.